Sacred Soul Sanctuary presents Soul Healing Poetry. Assalamu alaikum, dear souls, and peace to every soul who has found their way here. In the name of the one who softens, opens, and awakens the human heart. Welcome to Soul Healing Poetry. I am Ghulama Mustafa, and this is a space for gentle reflection, spiritual nourishment, and the healing whispers of Rumi poetry. Here, the heart is invited to speak, and the soul is invited to listen. Welcome back, dear souls, to episode 80 of Soul Healing Poetry. Today, I want to share a story from the Masnavi. It's simple, but it carries so much depth. By Maulana Rumi. There once was an elephant placed inside a dark room, and people were invited one by one to enter, to experience it, to understand what it was. But there was no light. So each person reached out and touched only a part. One felt the trunk and said, "Ah, it's like a snake." Another touched the leg and said, "No, it's a pillar." Another felt the ear and said, "It's like a fan." And each one was completely certain. Each one believed they had understood the truth. But none of them had seen the whole elephant. Now, if there'd been a candle, or if there'd been a light, all of their differences would have disappeared. Because it wasn't that they were wrong, it's that they were incomplete. And I want you to think about this. How often do we live like this? Maybe there was a moment recently you sent a message to someone. You were open, maybe a little vulnerable. And when they replied, it felt short, cold, distant. And something in your heart shifted. You read it again and again. And slowly a story begins to form. They've changed. They're upset with me. Maybe I don't matter to them the same way. And without realizing, you are no longer just reading a message. You are feeling a whole reality that your mind has created. But you didn't see their day. You didn't see their exhaustion or the weight they were carrying quietly. And you touched one part of the elephant, and your heart tried to make it whole. And later, when you find out the truth, maybe they were overwhelmed. Maybe they were struggling. And you pause. And you realize it was never what you thought. But in that moment, it felt so real. And sometimes we don't just do this with others. We do this with ourselves. Think of a moment where you made a mistake. Something you wish you could go back and change. And instead of saying, "I made a mistake," your inner voice said, "This is who you are." Not something you did, but something you became. And you held on to that. You carried it into your identity, into the way you see yourself. Maybe even into the way you believe the divine sees you. But what if that was never the full truth? What if you were only touching one part of the story. The part shaped by pain, the part shaped by fear, but not the part shaped by growth, by mercy, by who you are still becoming. You are not one moment, and you are not one wound. But sometimes we sit in the darkness of our own thoughts, and we believe that is all there is. And then there are moments in our life where things just don't make sense. Doors close, plans fall apart, jobs finish, things you prayed for don't happen, and you sit there wondering why. Why is this happening to me? And it feels heavy, confusing, and sometimes even unfair. But what if you were standing in that dark room again, touching one moment in time and calling it the whole story? Because you cannot yet see what this moment is protecting you from, what is preparing you for, what it is gently guiding you toward. The mind wants answers immediately, but the soul learns to trust in unfolding. And maybe the deeper invitation in all of this is to soften, to loosen our grip on needing to be certain. Because certainty can feel safe, but sometimes it closes us off. What if there is more? What if I don't see clearly? And what if there is a light I haven't allowed in? And that question alone can open something within us. And maybe this is where we are invited to pause, because the darkness in the story is not just around them, it's within us too. The places where we assume, where we react, where we hold tightly to what we think is true, without ever asking, what am I not seeing yet? And the candle? The candle is not something distant. It is awareness. It is softness. It is the willingness to step back and allow something deeper to be revealed. Because when the light enters, we don't just see others differently. We see ourselves differently. Our judgments begin to soften. Our stories begin to loosen. And what once felt certain becomes spacious. So perhaps this story is not asking us to be right, but to be open, not to have all the answers, but to make space for the light that gently shows us there's always more to see. So let's come into a gentle breath together, just allowing yourself to arrive in this moment. Soften your shoulders, relax your jaw, and if it feels safe, close your eyes. And inhale slowly. And hold gently. And exhale slowly. We're going to do this one more time. And as we inhale, we release the need to be certain. And as we exhale, we're opening to a deeper understanding. So inhale for 4 through the nose 1, 2, 3, 4. And just hold and allow space for what you cannot see. And now exhale for 6. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do this one more time. And as we inhale, feel a softening. And as you hold, you're trusting. And as you exhale, you're releasing. Let your breath be slow, gentle, and spacious. So inhale through the nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold. And exhale for 6. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Allow yourself to step out of the darkness and into more light. Perhaps the truth is not something we grasp all at once, but something that is revealed slowly. As we soften, as we trust, as we allow light to enter, and perhaps you're not lost or broken or behind. You are simply seeing one part of a much greater whole. And as the light reveals what once was unseen, may you remember you were never incomplete and only unfolding. And here is my own poetic reflection. The pen flows from the unseen, writing truths I do not always understand. In the dark, I thought I knew. I held a moment in my hands, and I called it truth. I felt a fragment, and I named it whole. Certain, so certain, that what I touched was all there was. But the light did not rush me. It did not shame me for what I could not see. It waited softly, patiently, until I was ready to loosen my grip on being right. And when it came, nothing was as I thought, and yet everything made some more sense. The edges softened, the story widened, and I realized I was never wrong, just incomplete. And maybe that is the mercy, that we are not asked to see everything at once, only to remain open as the light finds the way in. As we come to the end of this sacred moment, let your heart carry what you felt today, and join me next Friday for another journey into the soul. More Maulana Rumi poetry, more whispers, more guidance for the heart. Until then, keep following the light within.